Except Tracy.
Okay. We are live and recording. Who has
Somebody's unmuted.
Okay, let's try round two. Make sure we don't All right, another test run. Make sure we don't get any echoes. Sounds good. All right. We are live and recording at this moment.
Okay, I guess we'll just start. Finance Committee, and Tracy's got a couple topics here. One topic.
Yes, the first topic will be the HR software discussion. We're looking at asking for the Infinite Visions HR module to be added to the current Infinite Visions software package that we use for our financial software that will integrate with the payroll and the financial system. So currently, we don't have any HR software. We use Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, and then Access database. Yeah. So what I'd like to have would be the HR module to integrate with our financial software that would share the employee data with the payroll system. And then when I enter an employee into the HR side, it will automatically go into the payroll side. And we will actually turn off the add an employee to the payroll side so that they will not be able to add an employee any longer. So only the HR side will be able to add an employee, and that was a recommendation from our auditor.
So go with it.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, fine.
And the price is probably reasonable.
It is a total to add the HR module would be $13,920. And Teresa said that we had money left over from the lease, copier lease, that we could purchase the module this year. And then the annual fee is $2,550. And I did add that to the budget for HR for the upcoming school year, in hopes that we would be able to add that this year.
Tracy, does that include every year an upgrade of the program? that $2,000, or is that just a flat fee to have the program?
That is their service.
Their service,
Their
but it
service.
doesn't include an upgrade if they have upgrades.
With it being a cloud-based service, it would have, so if they upgraded a version, then we would.
So it would be
get
part
that.
of the package.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
And it is all cloud-based, just like our finance software.
okay, all right.
You had me at, we have to put all the information into all different spreadsheets, and every time I have to change it, I have to change it in every different Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's not secure, let alone
Oh, yeah.
logical.
Yeah, definitely. So,
It is part of our, it is part of our comprehensive plan.
Okay.
To incorporate, to upgrade our HR and business software, so this is a perfect opportunity for us to integrate both of them to become more efficient.
most of it's a setup fee. It's not actually the annual fee, that's actually the big part. It's just the kind of setup fee, and as we all know, setup fees.
They would like the initial licensing.
Yeah.
I know, I just got an email from QuickBooks, who I use, and I believe it was $800 and some a year. So you have more employees, it probably scales pretty accurately.
And this is $25.50 annually.
Not to mention all the stuff it does. So,
Yeah.
And you picked this one because it communicates with the system we're using on the finance side already, right, that Teresa's using?
Yes.
And I assume when Teresa looked, this was the best option out there, so that's why we ended up with it then.
Yeah, they've been researching for a while. We had a lot of different prices, very, very high. So Teresa and Tracy have been researching this for a few months now.
That looks good to me.
You don't need an approval for us or anything?
The only thing is, does the finance subcommittee support moving ahead with the HR module and a contract for the April JOC agenda?
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll be on April's agenda, not tonight, but on April.
On April's agenda for approval.
Okay, good.
And then the next thing was the Bucks County Business Service Renewal. Teresa will have that in April on their agenda.
On the April agenda. And this is Teresa's contract, pretty much?
I emailed that out to everybody earlier for her request, and then she will be presenting that for discussion in April. And then she asked if anybody had any questions on any of the financials.
Do you know how it compares to the first 2 years?
What's that? The contract?
That contract is a third-year add-on, but in there it doesn't say, the addendum didn't list what it was the first 2 years, so I wasn't sure how it compares.
I thought it was a 3-year. I thought it was a 3-year. I don't think this is an add-on. I think it was just it's just a.
Oh, the way it was worded, it said there was the first year, and then there was a second year addendum, and now there was a third addendum, right?
This is the third year of their contract. So
Oh.
are you asking if
The way it was written, I thought we were adding a third-year addendum onto the contract.
No,
That's
it
the
is-
way it's written in that email.
This is the 3rd year of the next year will be the 3rd year of the contract, and I think they made addendums because it's a little bit less than what the original cost was going to be. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm remembering the conversation with Teresa and the IU on that, so,
So this is year 3 of a 3-year.
yes, yes.
she's gonna discuss all of that next month with you.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody question the bills payable or the? Anything? Okay. I think we're done with that.
Oh, Teresa's gonna be disappointed. The first time she misses it, it lasts 5 seconds. Yeah, man, I missed the last one.
The rest of the meeting's gonna go like this too, right?
Yeah.
Well, now that we got that articles of agreement passed, probably, right?
Okay.
Next up.
Michael, policies.
we all have to laugh over that, come on.
Public works.
Jim and I are gonna have a stand-up routine by the time we're done.
Thank you all. We really appreciate the JOC taking on the initiative of updating our policies. It's very, very helpful to us. And we appreciate all the time that you put in these policies. for tonight, going to first reading, are policies 103, 10461, 203, 207, 209, 209.1, and 209.2. As we look through them, with 103, discrimination, sexual assault, you'll notice as a joint operating committee, it's important that our policies are collaborated, or we work closely with the 3 sending schools. So a lot of these policies that we do, we always make sure that there's, consistency among all 3 boards of ed. So these were discussed at committee last month. And does anyone have any questions on first reading on any of the policies tonight?
As a favor to Jim, I passed those along ahead of time.
Good for you.
Thank you. Policies for committee is 210, 210.1, and we're deleting a couple of them that are getting merged into policies 210, specifically 210.2 and 211. So on these policies, they're health related. We always vet through. We haven't, Mrs. Reinheimer does an excellent job of coordinating with the 3 sending school districts and implementing our medical policies to make sure all our students are safe and secure. Thank you, Mrs. Benes Clemens, for input at the beginning of the meeting, specifically, making sure that we're coordinating and that our students are safe while in the tech school. Does anyone have any questions on these policies, which are, sent out, and next month will go on the agenda for public input? Okay, hearing none, I thank everyone for your input, and we know that they're not just going to be as easy as these and smooth, that we're going to have our work ahead of us in the upcoming months. We've gotten as a team, we've gotten through the 0, the 100s, the 200s of student management, and the HR, et cetera, is coming up. And so we're going to be, spending a little bit more time in the upcoming months, but thank you for, taking the time to review that.
Anybody have anything to add? Question? Do we want? I don't hear anything additional. So. Next.
Mike, it's Bob Massandro. Can anybody hear me?
Yep, can't see you, but we can hear you.
I like saying, you can't see me. I'm right here. Hello.
You're in the shade. Very dark.
I do. I live in a cave, so what can I say? Mike, just well, when we put those on, we also have to put on the deletions for a first read as well. They have to go the same first read, second read as the changes do. Just so we're aware of that, and we make sure to do that next month. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
What do you mean by deletions? You mean the ones that we're
There are
dropping?
2 on there that are up for deletion. 10,
Yeah.
2 and 211. They have to go through the same first read, second read process as any that you're altering.
Yeah, normally there are, at least the QCSD, we normally have them on the list too, that we're deleting them.
I just want to make sure, because we haven't done many deletions around here.
Yeah, I'm big on keeping down the duplication and.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Less is more, but you're right. It's not common. Yeah.
That was it, Michael.
Thank you. Are we done? It's
early, but you want to go into the executive session now? There's no real timeline for that.
Well, was there a set time for the executive session?
6:45.
Is everybody here?
What do you think, Mr. Khan? Is everyone here?
Did you take a roll call, Mr. Khan?
Is that a legal question?
He's charged. You can do a roll call. There's a card right out here.
You're muted, Mr. Khan.
David and I are gone.
Zoom bingo.
I don't see anybody missing. Are we missing someone?
You don't see him, right?
You're missing. Say he's not here.
If you're not here, please say so.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mr. Ott? Richard, do you know about Dr. Ott? I guess Richard didn't answer. Bob, do you know anything about Dr. Ott?
You're supposed to be here, but, I can't even remember what committee he's on. I know, so,
All right.
I think he's fine.
Yeah, well, if we go into executive session,
I mean,
you'll just have to catch up. Is that all right, Mr. Khan? What's that resolution? You're the president. I know. Sure. Is it all right if we start without Mr. Ott, Dr. Ott? Mr. Khan?
It's fine, whatever the president wants to do.
Okay. And
You have a quorum.
Dennis can move us out of the together and we'll get into the executive session. Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording. See you later. I pledge allegiance
allegiance.
The United States of America,
And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Howell,
I'm here.
Ms. Janice Clemens here, Mr. Spear,
Here.
Mr. Format,
Here.
Mr. Missantry,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Monowitz,
Present. Just needed to add the way.
Mr. Ott,
Here.
Mr. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Kern.
Here. 9 present. Okay. Do we have any recognition or comments from the audience on agenda items? I don't see anything yet. I don't see any. I don't see anybody. No hands raised. Okay. We'll move to the announcements. We did have an executive session prior to this meeting dealing with personnel. What will we do? Negotiations, personnel. We'll move right into the administrative reports right first. The director's report.
Thank you. So this evening, we have a short presentation. Myself and Todd Luke will be presenting on Perkins 5 and all of the MAX strategies that we are currently using here at the Upper Bucks County Technical School. I just want to give a brief overview of Mr. Luke. He's been in the field of education for over 25 years. He has a diverse background in education and industry. He started out as a vocational technical student, then worked in the manufacturing field for 10 years. From there, he moved on to teach precision machining at Lanap Tech for 18 years. He also served as an administrator at Lanap for 3 years before beginning his career as an educational consultant for Max Teaching. Todd is currently president of Max Teaching, a position that allows him to share his passion for the art and science of teaching. Todd's professional background, his degree in vocational education and workforce education, and his certificates as vocational director and career counselor qualify him to train teachers across all content areas. Todd resides in Western Pennsylvania with his family. He has a great background. I've worked with Todd at my at previous schools. He's a proven leader in current tech ed, and he's helping us tremendously here at Upper Bucks County Technical School. And I want to introduce to you Todd Luke. But you can share your screen if you prefer.
Okay, we'll do that. Before I get into the sharing the screen, thank you. It's great to be here with you this evening. I truly appreciate your efforts as being part of the JOC for Upper Bucks. We also share that passion. I've sat in a lot of chairs, and I'm currently the school board president for my local school board as well. And so I appreciate all that you do as far as governance of the Career Center. That it's extremely important to me. You probably won't find a better advocate for career tech ed nationwide. It's what we do. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And ultimately, some of the work that I do this nationally, and I've made these speeches to many school boards before. Anytime that you're doing something in any school, everybody really wants to know why. And so when you think about why, education leads to workforce development, leads to economic development. Career and technical centers were the economic engines for workforce development within your region. They play a very vital role in creating that workforce and keeping your workforce moving forward. Some of the things that are part of the why for some of the initiatives at Upper Bucks, long-range planning. A lot of schools, including Upper Bucks, are looking at long-range planning into the next century. We're into the 21st century now. It used to be everybody talked about 2021. By the year 2020, we would do this. By the year 2020, we would do that. And it's 2021 now. We also have the Carl Perkins, which is a federal program. We're into Perkins 5 now. I've been around long enough. I go all the way back to Perkins 1, which makes me really old. But the reauthorization this year for Perkins 5 gives a really nice boost to career and tech ed across the country for each state as they write their programs. I know Pennsylvania alone gets about $60 million in federal funds that helps fund the 83 centers that we have in Pennsylvania. And I virtually work with all of them throughout the process for what I do now. The other thing that we have to look at for a why is the Chapter 339 regulations of the Pennsylvania School Code and program approval. That process has changed a lot over the last decade when you look at how programs get approved and how they receive state funding or whether or not they're eligible for Perkins grants. A lot of these things are state programs. And the last why is the PA teacher evaluation program, which is all driven by the Danielson model. And so when I started working with Upper Bucks, the first thing I want to do anytime I work with a school, and I'm not even sure if Mr. Sweeta and Dr. Herrera know, but I went and I looked at the mission statement for the school. You have your mission statement, it's there on the screen. I got it from your website. It's to educate students for successful careers and to inspire lifelong learning in a challenging and changing global economy. The next thing I look for on schools' websites is what kind of vision do they have? That's really the Upper Bucks why. Why do we have an Upper Bucks technical school? And so when you look at these things, those are the things that I look for whenever I go in to work with schools. I need to see what their why is, and I need to see where they are in this process. You also have some belief statements that are on your website. And again, I'm not going to read those to you because I'm sure if you've been around that school long enough, you probably are aware that these are the 4 belief statements of Upper Bucks Technical School. So when you look at the Perkins 5 funding, there's a couple of things in there specifically about professional development that are kind of driving our efforts across the country, not only at Upper Bucks, but everywhere that we go. One of the things in Perkins 5 that's new is how professional development is defined. These ideas of having professional development where somebody comes in for one day, they do a little dog and pony show, and then they leave and nothing really changes. Those days are kind of gone in professional development. What Perkins is looking for and what they're looking to fund are programs that are necessary to enable students to succeed in career tech ed. They're looking at programs that are sustained, so they're multiple visits, they're multi-year, they're multifaceted, they're data-driven, and they're evidence-based in the things that they do to actually improve that school. And so, all of the things that we are looking to propose, and a lot of things
Why are doors so hard to open?
a lot of things we've already done there are driven by the Perkins 5 initiative. When you look at the Chapter 339 regulations, there's a couple of things within the school code that jump out at you. Programs get approved based on whether or not students could obtain a Pennsylvania skill certificate. That may be driven by either a NOCTI credentialing process or manufacturing as NIMS, cosmetology would be a state licensure program. And so there's different ways that programs can be evaluated based on this skills certificate. The other thing that they're looking at is standards-based plans, where there's a standard plan or an instructional system in place that's in control and capable of delivering quality curriculum and instruction to students to meet those needs. And so where we are with the Upper Bucks project, we've done some extensive multi-year NOCTI data analysis. We've gone back, I believe, 3 to 5 years, and we've looked at pre-test and post-test data. And I've written some coding that customizes some reports that really breaks that information down to almost tell you what lessons need to be delivered differently. And we've done pre-test and post-test analysis. We've done summary data analysis reports, which are more longitudinal. We've looked at the data for an entire test cycle of hundreds of students that have gone through a program. And what we look for are not things where we can evaluate and judge people. This really isn't about evaluation and judgment. This is really about diagnosis and prescription to help them get better. We try to find ways to help them improve the curriculum instruction so that we can see growth and achievement within the students at Upper Bucks. One of the things with NIMS is the data is much more limited for that side of the house than it is for the NOCTI side. There are still some data sets out there that we can look at with NIMS to look for areas where we have strengths and where we have challenges. But it's really all about the credentialing of students. And there's a state minimum requirement for having students either take the NOCTI, or there's a certain number of NIMS credentials that students have to be to produce and get credentialed for. In addition to that, we've done some professional development with the staff on curriculum. We actually put together in place a curriculum that has them documenting units of instruction as driven by the NOCTI blueprints or NIMS that break down their curriculum, just like you would in virtually any school system. You have unit plans, and then from unit plans you create lesson plans that are really driven by either terminal performance objectives or learning targets or something so the student knows what I'm going to learn, know, and do today. It's really about the first steps in developing continuous improvement. If you're going to produce a continuous improvement model, the first thing you have to do is say what you do, and then you have to do what you say you do. And so if you do those things, then you can start really looking at the piece of the puzzle and making sure they're lined up. We are doing that at Upper Bucks with a system we call Guides for Learning, which allows the teachers to create a living curriculum. That living curriculum has unit plans, lesson plans. It can contain their projects, and it's driven by Pennsylvania academic standards, eligible content standards, programs of study standards for career and technical education, the NOCTI competencies that are rolled out throughout that test. It's also driven by student learning objectives. We've actually done multiple days of training with the staff on Guides for Learning. We've met with some teachers one-on-one to look at their guides, to see where they were with their guides, to help them with their guides. I've done some Zoom one-on-one sessions with some teachers that had questions. We've helped them. That's part of our ongoing commitment to do that. We've also, student learning objectives are not new to the educational system, but those can actually be housed right inside Guides for Learning as well. So it's like a one-stop shop. We've used the data this year to actually identify longitudinal areas where the students needed to improve. And so we sat down with the teachers again, one-on-one, and we showed them longitudinally where students had struggled historically within their program of study. And we gave them choices from a select list of things to drive their student learning objectives or their SLO process, because we used the data to determine what those things would be. We didn't just say, well, do what you want to do. We did what the data told us needed to be done. And so that's all part of the initial process. And again, those things are all still ongoing through professional development. It's a multi-year process. It's multifaceted, and we help them do those things. Part of the program of study and some of the next step is to actually look at the projects that are driven, that students work on there, and crosswalk those two within the Guides for Learning as well, so that we include a task analysis of those within the learning guide curriculum as well. So you're going to have a system in place that will allow you to have a live curriculum, not just something you put in a 3-ring binder that makes everybody smile, but something that your teachers can truly use and embrace to produce the best possible students that you could from Upper Bucks Technical High School. And that's ultimately what we're looking for, is to do the best they can for the students that we serve. Some of the professional development that we've used so far, we've done research-based instructional strategies to improve student achievement, and we'll continue to do those. We do modeling of those instructional strategies within the technical programs, and we do embedded coaching to truly promote the transfer of those skills so that the staff has those, so we can really build capacity within your school so that your teachers ultimately can help each other within the school. And as someone from the outside, we don't necessarily ride off into the sunset, but our ultimate goal is to make it so that you don't need us anymore. We want to instill these things into your staff, and so they become institutionalized as part of the, this is the way we do it at Upper Bucks. You're not unique to this process. I've done this process in many schools, not just in Pennsylvania. There are almost 1,400 career centers in the United States of America, and I've been to over 1,000 of them in the work that I do. And so, there are many states that have incorporated these same kind of things in as a continuous improvement model. And again, a lot of it's driven by the current Perkins 5 reauthorization and things that they're looking for that makes us eligible for federal grants and federal state dollars to buy all that fancy equipment that you approve as a JOC. There's a lot of money that comes through Pennsylvania that allows us to do some amazing things in career tech in our state. And so that's basically where we are with the process. And again, it's ongoing, multifaceted. I told them when I met them, you have a great staff. I enjoy working with them, and it will be fun. One of the things I know, sometimes you have, I'm a builder. I'm the kind of guy that, I'm not a boss that says go. I'm not a leader that says let's go. I'm a builder, and for me to be a builder, I work with teachers and say, come with me and we're going to do something extraordinary to help kids. That's what we do. And so, if you have any questions about the process personally, as a board member or a JOC member, and you want to reach out to me, my email address is todd@maxteaching.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the process, where we're going, why it's valid, and why it makes the most sense to do that as part of continuous improvement at Upper Bucks. And so I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you. I got to say before I jump off here, Mr. Linden, you win the prize for the best virtual background. I love your train tracks. I got to get some of those. So I'm not sure where you got them, but you know, my background's fake too, but it's not cool train tracks. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you that, Mr. Luke. I was gonna say, how far out western Pennsylvania are you? Because it's still daylight behind you.
Actually right now, let's see, the virtual background I should be showing you is this one. This is actually the career center I'm at this week in Akron, Ohio. It's called RG Dreg. It's in Ohio, they have what are called joint vocational schools. And I've been working with this school for multiple years. This school went from near the middle of the career centers in Ohio to being ranked #1. And if you ask their director why he believes they're ranked #1, and he will flat out tell you it's because of the work we do with Todd and Max teaching. And you can ask a lot of different career centers that, if folks do what I suggest and I help them do, they will get better. This really isn't what I do at all. This is who I am. I'm very passionate about career tech. I've sat in all the chairs. I've sat in the student chair. I was a career tech student a long time ago. I was a career tech teacher. I was a career tech administrator. I've been a school board, I am a school board member. I'm a parent of students that are in career tech. I have a daughter right now taking cosmetology. I have a daughter that took cosmetology and is graduating from Penn State with a degree in chemistry. She wants to get a master's in cosmetic chemistry. She wants to design hair products. So, there's a lot of things that we do in workforce education that sometimes people don't think about. You do a lot of great things for students and you change a lot of lives. I'm forever grateful what career tech has done for me in my life. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for career tech.
Can you share how you incorporate meeting the needs of kids with special needs in your overall plans?
Sure. So when you talk about differentiated instruction, there's a lot of extra scaffolds that we do with literacy training and teaching. And we the nice thing about most career tech teachers, when you meet them, they already know about 6 ways to do everything. And so a lot of times with a special needs student, it's just a matter of coming about it a different way. A lot of times it could be about vocabulary. It depends on what their IEP says and what their true disability is. But we have a multitude of extra scaffolds. The book we provided for the teachers for instructional strategies, each chapter in the back of the book has a section specific to extra scaffolds for IEP students or 504 students or EL students, which is an English learner or a Spanish speaking student.
And you continue to be an ongoing resource for our staff here?
Yes, as part of, we started doing the training this year. We got bumped out a couple of times because of COVID, and of course, who hasn't? But yeah, we will continue that process. It is a multi-year, multifaceted. We don't just, I don't believe in a one and done. If a school doesn't really want to dedicate an effort to improving their teachers more than a day, I don't really want to work with them anyhow, because one day will not change your teachers. You have to, pedagogy means to walk beside. I like to walk beside them. And I've taught every discipline that exists in career tech over the last 21 years. And every academic program. I mean, what I do is a K-12 initiative. It's not just for career tech students. It works extremely well in that world too. But I do most of the career tech for our company because I speak the lingo, because I've sat in the chair. I can't really send my social studies teacher over to help them because he really doesn't speak the lingo. So it makes it harder for him. But it's just something I've been doing for a long, long time.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. I think it does make a huge difference to have someone who walks the walk, right? Someone who's been in their shoes. So
Sure. Well, I love, special needs students a lot of times thrive in career and technical education because All kids are smart, and most of the time, we just have to figure out how. And mechanical ability can be tremendous at times. You know, it can be challenging at times. You know, what I love to say that, it's a perfect world. It's not. We already know that. But we strive for 100% across the board. You know, my goal is for every kid to be successful in your school. Whatever we got to change to do that, you know, eventually we may come back to you with some ideas and say, you know, this doesn't work for all kids. If this doesn't work for all kids, you have nothing that's sacred to me that I won't come after to try and get board support to change if I know it's not good for every single kid. I'm talking 100%. I'm not talking, well, you know, there's always going to be that one. No, I want them all. And so you have nothing that's sacred that I won't go after that's not research based that we got to change. Of course, you know, I got to convince people to walk beside me to do that. But, you know, I want to help every kid that you have, period.
Hey, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever do any real feedback from your students after they graduate and then how far they are in their careers? And what
Yes.
they achieved?
You have to do, as part of the law, actually in career technical education, you have to do a 2-year follow-out survey. So 2 years out, we have to ask career and technical kids whether they're employed in the field, whether they're furthering their education, or whether they're active in the military. Those are the 4 credentials we get credit for in career tech. You also have to do that again at 5 years. Regular education doesn't have to do that. And so that data exists at Upper Bucks that I'm sure Mr. Sweeter or Dr. Rare can share with you. You know, that's across the board. I'm actually, you know, I have some of my former students that are 40 years old. Well, I shouldn't say this, but they're like 45 years old. I'm old. And so when, you know, and I'm still friends with a lot of them, and, you know, they're still working in the trade, or, you know, they share with me what they're doing with their lives. So I've actually followed them for decades, which is kind of cool.
Todd, it's Michael Herrera, meeting U15.
Mike, there's a whole bunch of feedback coming from your microphone, so.
Sorry, I'm meeting you 15 years ago as a new administrator.
Oh, yeah.
Helping me with my dissertation. Most importantly, very similar, starting on the journey. Our staff met you at that school. They said, we love it. You know, how do we have time? The fact that it's job embedded, ongoing professional development was great. We showed that we increased literacy scores over 3 years. But what impressed me most was you said I could go into any classroom where some teacher said, my students don't like reading or literacy, and you went in there and you walked the walk, and that's what you're doing. It's appreciated. We know you're doing great things, and you know, we appreciate the follow-up that you have.
Thank you. Anything else, folks? I know you got a whole meeting to do, and I've done these. You guys start really late. We start our meetings at 7:30. 8 o'clock's pretty late.
Don't get Mr. Hollowell started.
I kind of like this. I kind of like this though. Only 38 people. We have 700 people in my Zoom. As board president, I got to watch all 700 of them, watch what they're saying. How do you guys only get 38? How do you do that?
This is just a tech school, right? And so it's a much smaller population.
Just don't give them the link. That's probably good. That's.
But,
I should try putting out the wrong link, because 700 people chatting at you is pretty fun as a school board president, and they don't realize that I keep the chat, and I actually look at it after the meeting for the things that they say about us. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, some of our own district freestanding meetings get much larger than this, but for the tech school, this is actually pretty lowly attended, believe it or not. We get more usually, but not anymore.
So, yeah, I'd like to thank Todd for coming on and sharing, you know, what we're doing here at Upper Bucks. I met Todd years ago at an integrated conference at State College, and, you know, I used his strategies at my past schools. It works. You know, my goal coming in, and our administrative goal is to offer approaches that enrich the classroom for all of our students. You know, and that's what we're doing right now. You know, no two students are the same, no matter what the ability is.
And we want to bring in strategies that we can teach every student, all students of every capability. And you know, we're on the right path. And like Todd said, we're gonna continue on this path, and we're gonna, you know, increase, you know, our teachers' ability to multitask and ability to adjust their curriculum and you know, teach all of our students. We're very diverse. Career and Tech Ed is a diverse type of education, and you know, the teachers that we have, you know, they strive to meet the needs of all of our students. We realize that there's no clear, consistent contrast between special and regular students. The same students will not always be at the top or at the bottom when they evaluate according to their intellectual, social, physical, and creative abilities. But we do know that successful educators will be those who work together, share resources and expertise to meet all students' needs in any way possible. And we're bringing those tools to our teachers, and it's going to increase our ability to take us to the next level. So again, thank you, Todd, for joining us this evening, taking time out of your schedule. We really appreciate it. If there's any other questions, we'll continue on.
Just one other thing, what interpretation was that people need to do individual lesson plans for every single kid that has an IEP? Just wanted to clarify that. That's not really what's being required, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
One interpretation that was shared with us from a staff member was that we're requiring them to do individual lesson plans for every single kid with an IEP. I just wanted to clarify that that's not what we're actually asking them to do.
An individual lesson plan for every student?
Yeah, I didn't think.
No.
I wanted to clarify that wasn't what we're requiring.
Inside the learning guides, there's a guide which would be like a unit of instruction, and then there are lesson plans. But you know, in the lesson plans, there is a section where we put in there what are called UDLs. They're Universal Designs for Learning. And those are really things that you would do, maybe give a kid extra time, maybe give a kid preferential seating. Those things are part of what you would want to do within your instruction or plan to know, I've got a student in here I need to give more time to. I've got a student in here. It doesn't necessarily, I don't believe we've ever talked about it. You had to have a lesson plan for every single kid, but we want you to think about every single kid because it's only fair that not all students be treated the same. The real definition of fair is every student gets what he or she needs. And so that is a component of the lesson planning to consider those, but by no means do you have to have an individual lesson plan for every single student. We just expect you to follow IEPs because it's the law, and it's important, you know. And just to touch on that a little bit, you know, when people talk to me about IEP students not being successful or can't be successful, you're talking to the wrong guy. You know, when you talk about CTSOs or Skills USA, I've been to nationals as a teacher. I've taken 4 students to nationals in my career, which is the national competition in Kansas City, Missouri. All 4 of those kids had IEPs. You're going to be hard pressed to sell me that an IEP kid can't do it. That doesn't mean you're not going to have to work hard. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have to try different things and you're not going to have extra scaffolds. But you're going to be hard pressed to win a battle with me over, you know, we just shouldn't help this kid because he has an IEP. You just won't win. I mean, you can try. You better bring a flashlight and a lunch because it's going to be a long day. Because I love those kids will give you 100% and they'll try and they'll try. And like I said, I've been extremely successful. You know, one of them come in 8th in the nation. The other ones were like top 20 or 25. But I had an IEP student come in 8th in the country. That's pretty good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Wu? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Very
again.
encouraging.
Thank you again, Todd, for taking your time out.
You're very welcome. And thank you all for what you do for the JOC and for the board to help kids in at Upper Bucks. I truly appreciate you as a staunch advocate for Career Tech Ed I appreciate what you're doing there. All right, if you have any other questions, you can, talk to Mr. Sweet about those and he'll get them to me, or he'll give you my contact information. Be happy to talk to you about where we are and where we're going and why.
Appreciate your time and your passion in this area.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I will see you all later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Be safe.
Okay, so to continue on, a couple of little items on the director's report. We received confirmation from the Bucks County Health Department about 2 weeks ago that we can open up the restaurant following the CDC guidelines. What we have to do now is you'll see on the agenda, to amend our health and safety plan, which I will then send to PDE and post it on our website. So the amendment, will allow non-essential personnel into our building. So that would include our restaurant, cosmetology, and most importantly, bringing in our proctors for our NOCI performance test at the end of April. So it's, the kids are really excited. We're hoping that we can amend it and we can start bringing it to the public. We're going to have, like I said, we're going to be following CDC guidelines and health department guidelines for this to happen. Next, vaccines have been offered to all educators that you've been hearing in the news in Bucks County. I believe that we're pretty close to being complete here at the school, which is phenomenal. Within the last week and a half, I think we have about 12 individuals left to receive their vaccination or the vaccine. So we're moving along in that aspect. The General Advisory Committee meeting is coming up April 13th. That'll be at noon. NOCI, I mentioned that earlier. The NOCI from April 12th through the 16th will be the written part of the NOCI exam. All of our programs, our seniors will be going through that written part. It's extensive and, about 140, 50, depending on the test, maybe 180 questions. And then at the end of the month, from the 26th until the 30th, we're going to have the performance test. And a lot of performance, it's all hands-on, and they'll have a variety of different types of projects that they have to complete, that will bring in occupational advisory committee members or professionals in that trade to grade the student on their performance. This year, we're doing a little bit different. We're going to be breaking it down in clusters. So we'll have maybe the construction cluster, all of the construction programs. You'll have electrical, carpentry, construction trades, HVAC, plumbing. We'll be doing that test with those individual students that day, and we'll be bringing in the proctors. And then when that test is over, we'll go and deep clean to get ready, because it's regular. Our other students will be coming in the next day in those programs, and we're just going to rotate it instead of doing it all in one day and bringing a load of people in. I want to be able to contain it into areas. So that's going to help ourselves, deep clean, so we're ready for our underclassmen to come in the next day. Our underclassmen, the day of the test, will be taught asynchronously at home. They'll go to their home school, but then when they come here, that day will be all asynchronous, just for that cluster that's taking that test that day. All the other students will be in the building for all the other programs, but the day of that test, the underclassmen will be taught asynchronously, from home. And then I'd like to welcome Matthew McClung, our new graphics communication instructor. I don't know if Matthew is on the Zoom, if he is, or if he isn't, but he's not. So, and I'd like to, again, happy retirement to Mr. Kohler. He's a staple here at Upper Bucks, and he's been doing some great things, and I wish him all the luck traveling the country with his wife, going to all the Phillies games, from what I understand. So that'll be something exciting for Mr. Kohler. I'd like to make a little note that we have a student in our law enforcement program. Her name is Amber Sims. She's a level 4 senior in the law enforcement program. As of June 2020, transcript report that she's ranked #1 in her class at Penrose High School. She's on honor roll, first honors every marking period. She's National Technical Honor Society member. She's a 2020 Schools USA District Silver Medalist. She's an all-state academic team for field hockey at Penridge. Academic scholarship at Gwendolyn Mercy University to pursue her degree in criminal justice. And she'll be receiving the Elmer Gates Award from the Skills USA big awards that will be coming up virtually in a few weeks. We're going to be showcasing Amber, I believe, in next month, Mr. G, in May. So I just wanted to put that out there on the radar that, you know, our students are the top students, and it's pretty impressive that we have the top student at Penn Ridge attending our criminal justice program. So we're pretty proud of that. And next on the agenda will be our student of the month, and I'll turn it over to Mr. G.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeting. Good evening, everybody. Bryn Landsberg, senior from the Animal and Veterinary Science program, has been named the Student of the Month for March at the Upper Bucks County Technical School. Bryn is the daughter of Amy and Brian Landsberg and attends Quakertown Community High School. Bryn is a cooperative education student trainee employed by Mill Pond Veterinary Clinic in Kennel in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. She has received all excellent evaluations from her employer and has also excelled in the animal and veterinary science as one of the program's top students and leads her peers in the UBCTS dog daycare service for the community. She has earned the OSHA 10-hour safety certification and several other certifications. Bryn was also named a member of the National Technical Honor Society and is an active member of the UBCTS FFA chapter. She is serving as the chapter's historian during the 2021 school year and has been an excellent example to her fellow members. Bryn showed a Hampshire pig at the 2019 Pennsylvania Farm Show. Her pig had suffered severe injury a few months before the show, and UBCTS feared that the pig would be euthanized. However, Bryn's hard work, dedication, and research to nurse the pig through her injury got them both to the show ring. Bryn contributes to the community by volunteering her time with Logan's Heroes Animal Rescue and Cookies for Hospice. After graduation, Bryn plans to attend Delaware Valley University with a long-range goal of becoming a veterinarian. Bryn, if you are with us tonight, on behalf of myself, the administrative team, staff, faculty, and JOC, congratulations and best of luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you, Mr. G. I'd like to add, excuse me, we're in the process of our enrollment right now, and we look like we are about 140 students ahead of where we were last year at this point. So right now we have about 446 entries coming into the school with 366 submitted applications. Penridge right now has 155 applicants. Quakertown has 175. So there's competition between Penridge and Quakertown. Palisades is coming up, and the enrollment last year at this point was 370 students. So we are promoting our programs. We are working hard, and students are recognizing that Upper Bucks is a place to be. And it's a hard work with my staff, my guidance counselors, administration, that this is happening. So again, we're seeing an uptick in career tech ed, and in another year or so, I'll be coming back to the board and asking for a couple $1 million for an add-on.
Oh, man.
But other than that,
so what programs would you say that we have available enrollment in for anybody who's listening that might be interested? Anything that you can say off the top of your head?
We have a few spots in this evening. We went over that. Some advanced manufacturing. There's about 2 or 3 programs. So we have a waiting list of about 30 students that we're looking to still place with second choice and third choices per se. But across the board, the enrollment has gone up.
So are we pretty full then?
Great.
Almost, like even though we're in open enrollment, we're not like, it'd be hard to get in.
At one point, it will be hard to get.
It's awesome. Good at it.
Right.
Great job, Doc.
Thank you.
Anything else for the director? Question?
I did have a question. Is there practice NOPI tests? Are they gonna be doing those, I guess, starting soon?
A few months ago, they took the free NOPI test, the written part of it.
Yeah, I heard you mention that, that's why.
Yeah, so the students took the free NOPI test, it's the written part of it, the performance part. The teachers have somewhat of an idea, but they really don't know what's going to be on the performance. So they just keep, working on the curriculum, and the curriculum aligned, NOPI has aligned their test towards Department of Education's curriculum and tasks. So they might be, for instance, roughing out a bathroom, just running the rough lines. And they may be, in culinary, they're going to have to probably, bake something, do a soup of some sort, possibly an entree. It depends on that year's test. So it changes constantly to make it a true test. So they've been working since the day they walk in here. As freshmen or sophomores, that's your goal. Graduate with that advanced on your NOPI and industry certifications. And our teachers have been working with them from the first day on. So crossing our fingers, we're gonna be one of the only schools that have been in session since day one, that our students are really gonna shine at coming in.
So the schools that had kids in virtual or hadn't had kids in, can they opt out of NOPI, or is that a state requirement at this point and everyone's gonna have to do it? And those kids are gonna have a rough time possibly in those other districts?
There's an opt out, but most of the districts that I've spoken with are going to administer NOPI tests. So they're just not going to have the advantage of having the kids in the class, and not bringing them. A lot of them are bringing them back in now.
Yeah.
But it's a long layoff from the beginning of the school year till now to start doing hands-on. So
Be real with that. It's like a certificate though, like it proves you can do the work. You can say you did the work, took the class, but if you don't have the certificate that says and proves you did the work, probably, it provides you that much more credibility.
And you've had promising results from the pre-NOPI tests?
Yeah.
That you administered. Good.
we feel confident. We looked at the data. Todd, myself, administrative team. We've been studying the data, how our students did in the pre-NOPI compared to last year's pre-NOPI. I mean, we can't compare, the groups, but we can see where the students may be missing advanced by 2 or 3 percentage points. And we have a large majority of those kids, that are at that tipping point. So bringing in all of the strategies that we brought in, last year, this year, we're hoping that it tips them over into that advanced category. And then some of the students that may be 10 percentage points or 20 percentage points away, we want to see an increase. We want to see that, decline from 10 to 5 or 20 to 10, because then we're seeing, some progress. So it's not going to happen overnight. As Todd said, it's going to be multi-faceted, multi-year that we're going to keep building and climbing the steps of success, basically.
We celebrate not only achievement, but growth. And on the pre-test, the students take ownership of their learning. So they get the data and they come up with a plan with the teachers on how to improve, which is very, very important. We give them all the data and they take ownership of their learning and they work together. I think that's important to keep some independence, ownership of your learning rather than being passive.
Or just being told.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the key right there.
Right.
And it's not just technical ed, we have, we're incorporating math, reading, writing, they need all aspects, it's not just, working with your hands, as they used to say, technology today. You need something upstairs as well to produce and become the top technician or top chef or whatever your passion may be. So, all of these strategies are going to better our students, for the workforce. And that's our goal, to build upper Bucks and Bucks County workforce. We don't want them leaving the county when we're creating great people, great students.
Okay, anything else? It says here, the report on the budget adoption. Do we know where we are on that? I believe,
I will say with 9 yes, 0 no, 0 absent. Henry. Our board meeting is with them.
For what it's worth, technically, the budget is already passed. It requires the majority of 2 of your sending districts and a total majority of the complete joint board, so at least 14. So you've got a budget.
okay. Fredericktown passed it, Osage passed it, and Federation will vote on Monday's. Okay.
Budget and the articles.
Okay, that's that on that. We can get to the subcommittee reports. The facilities committee did not meet. Is there anything to add?
I did have just one question about the SiteLogic report. Do you have any data on when that, or any info on that?
Not at this point. I haven't heard anything, so
Snow's finally clearing up on the roof, right?
I believe they're up on the roof last night. At one point to do infrared, they needed to be dark to see where we might have heat escaping. So they're walking around up on the roof. That was last night, I believe it was. So I haven't received it. As soon as I receive it, I'll forward it out to the JOC.
Don't.
We do have a few, and then Jeff, I don't know, sorry, I'm gonna say something out loud. I apologize. I'm sorry, man. But I do, as I was going to the bathroom, I realized that we have a hole in the roof and we have a very small leak in the bathroom. I went and told Jeff, he was like, yeah, well, there's like one other one over there. Oh yeah, there's one over there too. So at this juncture, there's a few very small holes in the roof that, based on the weather and the way that it has been the last few days of the weekends, because it's over about buckets of water. It's not an all the time thing, the way it's explained, but we need to all be advised that we had spoken about roof a little bit ago, as if it was some sort in the distance. I think it's not as far as we thought it was. We should be diligent and get on that. Sorry, Jeff.
No, that's fine.
And I assume they pointed those things out to them when they're aware of this.
Yeah, when they shine their infrared light, they can see inside the bathroom. That pretty much gives them what it's.
That's funny. Yeah, well, that's all right. When I was in elementary school, we used to have buckets
Yeah,
of water back in the day, Every time it rained, we had bucket, and we didn't think anything of it. It was like normal then. Now it's like.
Did they have a roof?
Your daughter was in my class, so ask her about
She
it.
never complained about it.
I know. It was like.
Okay. Any more facilities questions? The finance committee met and had a brief discussion on the software for the personnel. HR. And that will be on the agenda for April. The policy subcommittee, or is there more on that?
Here's more on finance.
Okay.
Were you gonna say anything about finance today? Is that today?
Yeah.
Yes.
If the president will allow, I was going to give the JOC and the public a bit of an update on negotiations as you all work with your now finalized budget. As you all know, We have been in negotiations with the teacher for some months. The contract expired June 30th of 2020. For the last little while, the district, the school has been exploring the idea of trying to save everybody some money by moving to a new health plan. So I just want to update everybody on where we are with that process as we have hit a bit of a wall. Obviously, the association has proposed a number of language changes. The school has asked for a number of language changes. The parties have expressed a willingness to agree to some of those and not others, and to compromise on some. I'm not going to go through that list tonight because, as we made clear at the beginning of negotiations, a deal is a deal. That is, the whole contract has to be settled. So even though either party may have agreed some willingness on language at this stage, that doesn't really count unless and until we get to the finish line. What I do want to update everybody on more is the heart of the negotiations, which are obviously the financial components, the salary and healthcare issues. The parties are actually not that far apart on salary. The current offer from the school is that the teachers would remain in status quo, that is, with no changes in their salary for this school year. And I'll talk a little bit about that position in a moment to remind everybody sort of how we got there. But we are now currently, in mid-March of the school year we're discussing. For the following school year, the school is proposing that teachers would stay on the same step of the salary schedule where they are, but that the schedule itself would get raises averaging about 2.56%. For 2022-2023, teachers would move step, and there would be raises to portions of the schedule averaging about 1.87. The total average raises for everybody when you factor in step would be 2.27%. 2020, sorry, that's for 23-24. 22-23 would be 1.87%. 24-25 would be just over 2%, 2.01% total raises. That's inclusive of step. And the goal here was to essentially provide a 4-year average raise of 2.25%, inclusive of both step and the PCERS contributions. And that's what these numbers would effectively do. The teachers have offered that they want fully retroactive step movement for this year. So no raises, but they want to be permitted to move step. They then are requesting 2.8% raises for the 21-22 school year and 2% raises for the remainder of the contract. Those would be also inclusive of step. As I mentioned, I'll talk about the big stumbling block there is the retroactivity issue. I'll talk about that in a moment. On healthcare, the school made it clear a couple of months ago that we are very interested in moving to a high deductible plan. And the reason for that is in looking at everybody's existing healthcare premiums, it is clear that everybody, the school and all the teachers, are paying substantially more for healthcare coverage than many of their neighbors. That's partly a function of what a small group it is. And it's, of course, partly a function of the nature of the plan. This is kind of a premium platinum plan, and it's expensive for everybody. Teachers under the current plan are paying 15.5% of the premium. So for family coverage, that's often over $5,000 a year in premium contribution that teachers are paying. The high deductible plan would save the district essentially 15.6%. That is to say, the premium the school would pay for that high deductible plan would be 15.6% cheaper than what the school is paying for the current plan. The theory that the school worked with was that those savings should be passed down. Dennis, if you don't mind, will you throw up on the screen share the file I have?
Yeah, just to be sure, we're using the original document.
Correct.
Okay.
So for members of the community, this is the way a high deductible plan generally works. Employees who only require single coverage would be required to have a $1,500 deductible. So that for the most part, the first $1,500 a year of healthcare expenses would be paid out of pocket by the employee. For everybody who's not single coverage, that amount is $3,000. So the school and the team set about trying to come up with a proposal that would account for that deductible. That is, we would assume that every penny of that deductible would get spent every year. And obviously we have to figure out who's paying the premium, but that the result of that calculation, every teacher would save 15.6% in the first year of this move. So the proposal that is up on the screen shows essentially that set of savings. And if you're a teacher and you're looking all the way over on the right, you will see the plan savings. So in the first year, the school was proposing to fully fund everybody's, to fully fund the deductible, meaning that essentially the teachers would not have to worry about it at all. Because the premium would also drop, they would still save the figure on the right. Those are guaranteed savings because the deductible is not even in play. In year 2, half of the deductible would be funded by the school, half would be funded by each individual employee. So if you look at that number on the right, you will see the total maximum savings is actually much higher. Now, the minimum guaranteed savings would be that figure on the right minus the amount each employee had to spend on their deductible. So if you were in family coverage and you spent your full $1,500, you might save $2,000. But if you spent less than that, you'll save more that year. Then in the subsequent years, and if you don't mind scrolling down, the employee would be expected to fully fund the deductible. But for each of these years, the contribution of the employees was dropping. So that figure, that column on the right, for each teacher, same deal. If you spent every dollar of your deductible, you could back that out of that number. And the difference is what you are minimally guaranteed to save. If you spent every penny at the deductible, you would still be saving money. And you can see the numbers get considerably bigger. Now, Dennis, I'm sorry to do this to you, but scroll back up to the top for a second. You had to make some assumptions in doing these calculations. So the assumptions we made in terms of savings were that A, if we stayed on the old plan, there'd be an increase in premium contributions because there would have to be. And that both plans, either way, there'd be an increase in total premium of 10% per year. The reason, and I don't want to get too lost in the weeds on some of this, but the reason I'm pointing out those assumptions is what it means is that for the first year, the school and the employees save 15.6%. But as it turns out, partly because of those assumptions, with each passing year in this contract, more and more of the total savings from this proposal actually goes to the teachers. So you can see that in the column that's sort of in the middle called potential annual savings to the technical school. And as you scroll through, and go ahead, slowly scroll if you don't mind, you'll see that number diminishes. Each year of this proposal, because there's a limit to what we can do with the assumptions, more and more of the savings actually gets allocated over to the employees. Coming into our final or last negotiation session, the association's proposal, we had several sessions discussing a possible high deductible plan. And the association was proposing that for next year, the JOC would fully fund the deductible and the JOC and the employees would only pay 2% of the premium. So in other words, it would allocate 98% of the total savings would go to the teachers and only 2% would go to the school. Quite literally, because the only contribution would be that 2% in premium. For 22-23, they were proposing that the JOC fund half the deductible, but the employee contribution would only be 2.5%. So there's a little bit more going to the school that year, but still substantially, still the allocation is weighted in favor, very heavily in favor of the teachers. 23-24, they were proposing that that JOC fund 25% of the deductible, and the premium would be 3%. And then the final year, the teachers would be responsible for funding their deductible completely, and the premium would be 3.5%. So in that proposal, the vast majority of the savings from moving to a high deductible plan would pass through directly to the teachers rather than being shared, in a more even way with the school. However, at the last session, just so in the interest of complete transparency, the final position of the association was actually that they would no longer negotiate over a high deductible plan, and would instead only negotiate over the old plan. So that's where we are, which brings me back to the retroactivity issue, which is the other big stumbling block where we are right now. As many of you may know, having served on school boards and gone through your own negotiations, when you're in status quo, nobody gets raises. You probably also know that there's no such thing as binding arbitration. Parties have to sit at the table and work at a deal until they get to one, however long that takes. Nobody can make either side take a deal. So the question then becomes, what do you do with that leverage? And it's clear that the association in this case is essentially saying, well, okay, the old healthcare plan is the status quo. So that is our leverage. You can't make us change. And if we don't change, it stays the way it is for as long as we want. That's the issue with retroactivity. If, in fact, the school then says, we'll get to a deal and we'll give you pay raises for the period of time that you refuse to even now negotiate over a high deductible plan, the leverage is all on one side. By not allowing retroactivity, the leverage is even. We still need to change the status quo and need to convince them that it's the right thing to do for all their members. But the longer that process takes, the longer it's going to be before their members ultimately see a raise. So that's the principle behind retroactivity and why we are where we are. We are currently, obviously, waiting to figure out a new date, which we will do. We are anxious to return to the bargaining table, and we will see what happens next. But that is where we are, and I wanted both the rest of the JOC who are not part of the negotiating committee and the community at large to have a sense of why we don't have a contract yet and where we are at the current moment. And as I said, we're hopeful and we want to get back to the bargaining table, and we'll see what happens next.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. And I just want to kind of summarize a couple of things that you said. The reason you can see that the savings really increases to the teachers year after year and decreases to us year after year is because the deductible is moving to them. So any inflation that goes into premium share goes into our category. So when you look at the savings for us, drastically dwindles down each year while it's significantly increasing. And to the point you made earlier, the reason we even started looking at this is because we started to compare how much it costs in insurance in our sending districts to what it costs here. And we just thought it was, it was crazy what teachers and what the district have to pay for this insurance plan. We wanted to see if there was something more reasonable out there to help people out, because it was really costly. And so when we started to look at the high deductible plan, we saw that, wow, even if everyone maxed out their deductibles, they'd save thousands of dollars. It's kind of it's a no-brainer, right? Your premium share is going down so significantly that even when you incorporate your deductible into it, year after year, you're saving more and more money and saving thousands of dollars. you know, it kind of takes away the deductible, you know, risk piece when you're paying that much less automatically, no matter what. And so that was kind of, you know, the purpose here, and wanting to point out that that savings goes down to us, but drastically increases to them. And again, you can see that there's even more significant savings depending on whether or not that whole deductible gets used. So even if they max it out, they're still, no matter what, going to save $1,000, and as you go down, it really jumps year after year. And so when you compare that to, you know, what would happen in the old plan year after year, you can see that that's going to keep increasing every year instead of decreasing every year. And, you know, I think it's a pretty powerful thing to be able to deliver something that actually is going to save people money year after year on insurance rather than increase the cost of insurance year after year. Because, you know, I mean, I personally, if I were in this situation, I would want to save all of that money and not just give that money away. Because that's kind of what you're doing in that left-hand column. You can see that year after year, your costs are just drastically going up. So I think it's important for everyone to know what's being offered. You know, while we were in negotiations, there was a refusal to share the information with the members, and I don't think that's fair. And I got to be honest, I was really frustrated because we have amazing teachers who've been working their tails off since the beginning of this year in a really tough situation with COVID, in here every single day. You know, and I want them to get a fair contract. And there were, you know, based on, you know, some pieces of that, I think that it's important for them to know what's being offered and give them the opportunity to be able to get a fair contract. So, thank you.
Okay, anything else to add, anybody? All right, that takes care of the finance committee report. You want to report on what the policy committee did?
Yes, during tonight's JOC meeting, we thank the JOC for their commitment in updating our policy guide. These revised policies reflect current law, regulation, practice, and terminology. Most importantly, they help us with governance in the school. Tonight, we reviewed, discussed, and recommended the policies listed in tonight's agenda for first reading be approved. And we also reviewed several policies which were recommended in committee to be moved to first reading at next month's JOC meeting. They'll be attached to the agenda for public input. And that's my report.
Anybody wish to add anything or question? Okay, thank you. The program committee did not meet. Do you want to say something about? Okay, that's taken care of the committee reports. We'll move to the consent agenda. Item number 7. I need a motion to approve the February minutes, the February financial reports, the March bills payable, and personnel recommendations.
So moved.
I'll second.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm trying to pull up I closed my agenda and I'm trying to pull my agenda back up to see.
You make fun of me for
See, yeah, no, I try to put the agenda on my phone and then have the Zoom on my screen so I can go back and forth. But I just closed that window and now I can't seem to pull it right back up. Oh, there it is. I got it.
You want my laptop?
I think I'm here. There was, sorry. Okay, my comment is under health and safety, so I'm good.
Okay. If there's no further questions or comments on the motion, right? we're
I just
okay?
have one question. Is Catalyst advertising? Is that for our open enrollment advertisements at the sign in Quakertown, I presume? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to be sure.
Anybody else? Hearing none. Do we have any abstentions? Do we have any nay votes? Hearing none, I'll assume that the motion passed 9-0. Okay. Next item, the school calendar. We need a motion to approve the 21-22 school calendar.
So moved. I'll second that.
Any questions or comments on the calendar?
Has this been synchronized with the sending district then?
Yes.
Take that for
Hopefully we don't
granted,
have
actually.
Hopefully we don't have COVID thrown curveball in the next year.
We're gonna go ahead, don't go next year.
Okay. Anybody else?
We're gonna hold you to that one too.
He has control. I don't hear anybody, see anybody. Are there any nays? Are there any abstentions? Motion passes 9-0.
Mr. Hollowell, before
yes.
you make the next motion, I want to see if you would mind modifying the motion.
Megan has a special request.
No. I just wanted to accurately do what we wanted to do, because if you look under public content, under health and safety plan amendments, it says amend language, one of the bullet points, the third one says amend language to allow non-essential personnel into the building following all CDC, state, and Bucks County Department of Health's recommendations and guidelines. Doesn't that need to say non-essential personnel and public? Because you're allowing the public into those three programs.
I mean, public or person,
Are
public or non-essential.
they're not, so customers are non-essential personnel? Okay, that's all I wanted, okay.
Depends on your business.
Okay,
All right, then never mind, just making sure.
you make the motion?
So moved.
Second that motion. Incredible.
Too far away.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay.
I'll let you get the next one.
Thank you. You're way out there. Any questions or comments on the motion to approve? Seeing none,
I was just gonna say, there wasn't really a 3-month quarantine in there, was there? It says updated language to remove it, but that's just insane.
I think we say 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, something. Months, yeah.
oh yeah, 3 months. more.
I am very excited. Wait, are we done?
Yes.
I'm very excited to get the restaurant and food truck stuff back open and moving. And
Yeah.
get, some stuff moving around in here and the public and sales. I don't hate calling it that because that's not what this place purpose is. But that means that the students are doing things that they're supposed to do. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any abstentions? Any nays?
But we're done.
The motion carried 9-0.
Sorry.
And can we,
Thank you.
where can the public access the menus and options to be able to?
We'll be posting on our website, but I'll also be sending it out to all of our parents and sending districts.
Great.
We also use Facebook a lot and social media too. That gets a lot of people.
And is the restaurant just walk into or will reservations be required?
You can just walk in and take out as well.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna take out, of course, call ahead. But you can walk in and sit down. I believe the time will be posted tomorrow. We're still working on a time, but I'm thinking somewhere probably around 12 till 1:30. That's when we have our 8 PM students here. The AM students will be leaving early, so we might hopefully maybe move it down to 11:30 to 1:30. But we will definitely post the times out on social media, our website, and we'll send it out to the sending districts along with all of our parents. So everybody be well aware.
And is that, if you can get kind of a sense of the restaurant times, is that going to be similar for bakery and then moving the cosmetology time frame?
I don't know the cosmetology times right now. I'll speak with our instructors tomorrow and see what their schedule allows, and then we'll be able to post all 3. The bakery will be open, in the morning because it's just basically come in, pick up and go. So we'll have the menu for the bakery. We'll have the menu for
culinary, and we'll have the menu, so to speak, for cosmetology as well. Come in, get your nails done or your eyelashes, whatever, you can get that stuff done as well.
So does that?
Jim said come in with me, we're gonna get our eyelashes done.
The AM culinary students don't get the restaurant experience? Oh,
They're prepping.
Oh, they're prepping. But so you wouldn't like consider opening for breakfast to give them the restaurant experience? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have the kids be here at 5:15.
Hey,
No, you're not getting prepped.
I see the country place does some breakfast business, so.
We had the assistant superintendents in, and they had a breakfast, and then it resulted in a special delivery at Penn Ridge. We had a meeting, just explain it to personally.
Because it was really good. Do you think that you could?
Okay.
That's a little bit.
Real quick, I just wanted to mention that Dr. Hoffman personally reached out and said how much he appreciated that our culinary students put a spread together and sent it over for the workers who are helping to vaccinate all of the employees. So.
Yeah, they sent lunch down on Tuesday and Thursday, and was very much appreciated. Our students, really were excited to put it together, and of course the people down the National Guard and all the AMI people down there really appreciated it as well. So, it was a great gesture on our chef and our students to help out, give back to the people that have been working there, from 2 to 9 every day, 8 to 8 Saturday and Sunday. So they're putting a lot of hours in to try to vaccinate all of the teachers and administrators and personnel that work in schools in Bucks County. So yeah, it was a great opportunity for our kids, to give back, and they really take pride in that kind of stuff. I mean, you can see it in them. Dr. Hoffman's son, is part of the program, and when he was leaving today, I see him every day. When he's leaving today, he said, "Mr. Sweet, I did the lunch for down there. That's what he did for lunch today." So he was pretty happy. So
That's great.
So the cosmetology teacher, Ms. Mandato, just put the hours up on the chat, 12 to 1:30 p.m.
Good.
Thursdays and Fridays.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Are we ready to move on? Yes.
I think I can come up with something.
Nothing else? Number 10. All right, item 10. The Technology Pool Consortium. Need a motion to approve the Technology Pool Consortium agreement with Sweet Stevens, Cass and Williams through the IU year.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Will it have a dining?
I think I understand this. Who can explain what this is?
I can explain a little bit.
There you go.
I don't do this. My partner Mark does this.
Billy, you're not the technology expert?
Yeah, all right, that's enough. So because there are multiple members of the pool, that's what the pool part means. Basically what happens is you pay a flat fee and various members in the pool submit questions. And all the questions that look like everybody's going to be applied to, we basically blast out legal advice on issues that we're seeing from members of the pool so that you all get it. In addition, there's some periodic training related to specific tech issues. So it's kind of like a legal advice consortium is what it is.
I know our technology department has said that the blast emails back of things, questions other people are asking is actually really helpful to them too. Things in advance sometimes and things that, and you might want to speak to that, Dennis. But it's helpful. A lot of times you're getting information back that you wouldn't have thought to ask, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad that they shared that. But if you want to add in too, because you would be using this resource more than anyone here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with it. I mean, there's sometimes, something that you don't really even think of, and then they bring it right to you. It's like, oh, wow, I really need to look into that and make sure we're in compliance with that. So you explained it very well.
So Dave, can you get us a discount or something on this? Maybe a coupon code?
I'll get right on that, Mr. Agmanowitz.
It's a pretty hefty chunk of change when you break it down to the month for some legal advice that we didn't even ask for. I mean, like seriously, like, we're talking about 1,300, 13 grand, 14 grand for a year. Is it worth it? Do you think it saves us that much money or prevents us from getting sued for at least that much money?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it only takes one mistake to, and you would, I can't even imagine how much.
You find value in it?
So, but there have been several topics that I've gotten every year this is my first year, my first school being in a service like this. And I think it's definitely valuable.
Mr. Agmanowitz, in all seriousness, to that point, like our firm has done a similar thing for special education, a special education pool, and we've done the tech pool for a few years now. What those two topics share in common are the incredibly complicated regulatory compliance issues. Like, this isn't the general solicitor governance stuff. This is like, you mess up the compliance issue, you're in trouble. That's kind of the principle behind it.
And Dave Agmanowitz, our portion is only $807.53. You stopped at.
You mean the Quakertown?
No, I mean, the tech school.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
The 13,000. They're not getting a boat out of this one.
All right, that being said, any more questions, comments? Okay, is there any?
Thanks, Chris.
Are there any abstentions to the vote? Is there any nays to the vote? Okay, the motion passes 9-0. We need a motion to approve the designation of equipment used as obsolete and approval for its safe disposal.
Second.
What equipment are we at? Processor.
It's an X-ray process from the dental program.
Okay.
It's antiquated, out of date, so it's no use. 21 years old.
Any other questions? Seeing none, are there any abstentions to the vote? Are there any nays to the vote? Motion carries 9-0.
I have the magnets.
That's an MRI. That takes care of the action agenda. No other further motion?
No.
I don't see any. At this point, do we have any more recognition or comments from the audience on general issues? Does anybody see anything?
Let me just make sure there's no private messages here. Nothing to be here.
Okay. I don't see any. I haven't been told of any.
Nothing on the, no hands up here, and nothing new on the chat.
Okay. That being said, we'll move to announcements. The next regular JOC board meeting is scheduled for April 15th at 8 p.m. We have a JOC room and Zoom for the public. We're also going to schedule a program committee for April 6th at 7 p.m. to discuss the programs here at the tech school. We felt it needed a meeting on its own. So anybody that's concerned about that should be.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. That being said, is there any JOC member concerned? I see none. That only leaves a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Reed?
Second.
Yeah, Chris got it. Chris got it.
Moving second to adjourn. All those in favor? say
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Be safe, wash your hands.
Yeah.